Good evening. I'm Dinah Davenport. And on tonight's episode of Almost Famous-ish, we'll be discussing what happens when you age out of one of the most superficial industries in the world, the music industry. And we'll see a woman who was so desperate to be a pop star that she did the unthinkable. Find out what that is on tonight's episode of Almost Famous-ish.
Quick warning before we begin. Everything in this documentary is completely fictional. The artist, the interviews, the scandal, the headlines, all fake. This channel creates original fictional music documentaries inspired by the style of Behind the Music, VH1, and pop culture. So before anybody rushes to the comments screaming, I knew about this and always thought something was off. No, you didn't, because none of this happened. Please relax, enjoy the story, and maybe wait at least 15 minutes before Googling people who do not exist.
What's your biggest secret?
Oh, if you only knew.
And if they only knew was correct. Before she became America's newest teen sensation, she was marketed as the fresh-faced future of pop music. Her image was carefully crafted, her rise was explosive, but behind the image was a secret so bizarre it would destroy her career overnight. This is a story about the cost of chasing fame, the lengths record labels will go to sell an illusion, and the harsh reality of aging in one of the most superficial industries in the world. This is the story of Emily Emerson. Emily Emerson was simply Elizabeth Johnson. Elizabeth was born on April 4th, 1959, in Akron, Ohio. Raised by working-class parents, she spent much of her childhood singing anywhere people would listen. School, talent shows, church socials, county fairs, birthday parties, family reunions. If there was a microphone nearby, Elizabeth wanted it. According to friends, she possessed something many aspiring performers never develop: persistence. What she lacked was timing. Throughout the late 1970s and most of the 1980s, Elizabeth chased a recording contract with remarkable determination. She auditioned constantly, recorded countless demo tapes, performed in shopping malls, nightclubs, state fairs, corporate events, and anywhere else willing to pay her $20 and a sandwich. The response from record labels was almost always the same. You've got talent, you've got personality, you've got a great smile, but we're looking for someone younger. Year after year, Elizabeth watched younger singers receive opportunities she'd spent decades chasing. Friends encouraged her to move on. Family suggested she pursue a more stable career. Some wondered if music simply wasn't meant to be. Elizabeth refused to give up. One former roommate later recalled, she used to say, "My break is just running late." But by the late 1990s, Elizabeth had quietly accepted that her chance might never come. Ironically, that was exactly when it arrived. In 1999, a newly launched televised talent competition called Bring It announced open auditions for unsigned performers between the ages of 16 and 21. Elizabeth almost didn't go. She knew she shouldn't. She was 40 years old now, and she certainly wasn't eligible. But persistence was always her gift, and maybe even her curse. She decided she would go just to give it a try, to see what happens. After all, she'd been turned down 1,000 times before. This wouldn't be new. Then something unexpected happened. Something so mundane that would change her life forever. Before leaving for the audition, Elizabeth pulled her hair into the same tight ponytail she'd worn for years. Friends had always joked that the hairstyle made her look younger. Elizabeth always laughed it off until the audition. When she stepped onto the stage, the judges never asked her age. They simply assumed. What they saw was an energetic young woman with infectious charisma, impressive dancing, and a commercial image that fit perfectly inside the exploding teen pop era. One judge reportedly smiled and said, "Finally, a teenager who actually looks like one." Elizabeth froze. Then she smiled and said absolutely nothing. The audition immediately became one of the most talked about performances of the competition. Producers loved her. The judges loved her. Teenage contestants were considerably less enthusiastic. One contestant later joked, "She danced like she'd been paying bills." At the time, nobody understood how accurate that statement actually was. Within days, Elizabeth was offered a recording contract with Starburst Records, and they changed her name to Emily Emerson. The label believed they had found exactly what they were looking for, a fresh-faced teenage pop star who could sing, dance, and appeal to the rapidly growing audience of preteens across America. They needed someone to compete with the Britney Spears and Christina Aguileras of the world, and they believed they'd found her. There was only one problem: contract day. When Elizabeth arrived at the record label to sign the rest of the contractual paperwork, her hair wasn't in its usual high ponytail. Instead, it fell naturally around her shoulders. Several executives reportedly assumed she was Emily's mother. One assistant allegedly greeted her by saying, "Hello, Mrs. Emerson. They're waiting for your daughter, Emily. Write this," before stopping mid-sentence. Because there was no daughter. After a long silence, one executive quietly asked, "How old are you?" Elizabeth answered honestly, 40. The room reportedly remained silent for nearly a full minute. One executive later admitted, "I honestly thought she was joking." Another simply walked out of the conference room. The label suddenly found itself facing an unusual problem. They had already signed Emily a contract. Backing out now risked legal complications and potentially disastrous publicity. After several emergency meetings, Starburst executives reached what many historians have since described as one of the dumbest decisions in music history. They decided to move forward with one condition: the ponytail never comes down. Ever. Not for interviews, not for concerts, not for photo shoots, not for award shows, not for vacations, not even around most members of the record label. From that day forward, stylists reportedly traveled everywhere with Emily. Extra hair ties became standard tour equipment. Several backup ponytails were even kept backstage in case of emergencies. One stylist later claimed they treated loose hair the way NASCAR teams treated flat tires. It was an emergency. Remarkably, the strategy worked. By the summer of 1999, Emily Emerson was about to become one of the fastest rising names in teen pop. Then came the song that pushed her to the stratosphere, Blue. The sugary heartbreak anthem about a teenage girl devastated after her first boyfriend left her became an instant sensation. Children loved it, teenagers loved it, parents became thoroughly exhausted by it. The chorus played everywhere: shopping malls, school dances, roller rinks, Disney Channel and Nickelodeon commercials. Even worse, the song came with a dance known simply as the Blue. Within weeks, millions of children were performing the routine in school cafeterias, birthday parties, talent shows, sleepovers, and anywhere music happened to be playing. Emily Emerson wasn't just a pop star anymore. She had become America's newest teenage sweetheart. Ironically, she was older than many of the parents buying her albums. As Emily's popularity exploded, so did the effort required to maintain the illusion. Starburst Records became obsessed with protecting what executives privately referred to as the ponytail protocol. Every public appearance followed strict rules. Emily could never be photographed with wet hair, wearing hats that required removing the ponytail, lying down during photo shoots, or from certain camera angles the label believed made her appear too mature. Magazine photographers were given surprisingly detailed instructions. Keep the lighting soft. Avoid profile shots. Shoot from slightly above eye level, and under absolutely no circumstances, let the ponytail come down. At first, Emily found the entire thing ridiculous. Eventually, it became exhausting. One former makeup artist later claimed she once watched 3 executives spend nearly 45 minutes debating whether a single loose strand of hair made Emily look 30. Emily reportedly interrupted the meeting by saying, "I wish I was at least 30. Nobody laughed. The lie extended far beyond her appearance. During interviews, Emily was instructed to discuss homework, prom, curfews, teenage crushes, and what she wanted to be when she grew up. She had already been paying taxes for over 20 years. One magazine asked what she planned to study after high school. Emily smiled politely. Probably accounting. She'd already taken accounting in 1983. Despite the absurdity, America adored her. Emily won Teen Choice Awards, hosted children's television specials, appeared on lunchboxes, notebooks, dolls, and backpacks. Parents praised her wholesome image. Young girls copied her clothes, her dance moves, and most importantly, the ponytail. Soon, thousands of girls across America began pulling their hair into tight, high ponytails, hoping to look just like Emily Emerson. The hairstyle became almost as famous as the music itself. Ironically, it was also the only thing standing between the biggest lie in pop music and complete disaster. Because lies don't usually fall apart all at once. Sometimes they simply fall down. And on one ordinary afternoon in the summer of 2001, Emily's ponytail did exactly that. For nearly 2 years, the illusion held. Emily Emerson remained one of the biggest names in teen pop. Then, on August 3rd, 2001, everything changed. The official story was simple. Emily had finished rehearsing for a charity concert in Orlando, Florida. Believing photographers had already left the venue, she walked outside toward her tour bus. She was tired, hot, and according to one crew member, just wanted her head to breathe. So, for the first time in years, Emily removed the ponytail. Unfortunately, the photographers had not left. Within seconds, dozens of cameras began flashing. Emily froze. One photographer later recalled, "At first I thought, who's the older lady with Emily's clothes?" Then she looked directly at us, and I realized, oh my God, that is Emily. By the following morning, the photographs were everywhere. Entertainment magazines, television news, celebrity websites, talk shows. One newspaper simply ran the headline, "Who is Emily Emerson?" America immediately divided into 2 camps. One side felt sympathy, the other felt scammed. Teenage fans couldn't understand what they were seeing. Many genuinely believed someone had replaced Emily overnight. One 12-year-old fan reportedly wrote to the record label asking, "Who is this old lady acting like Emily Emerson? Why does she look like my mom? What have you done with Emily?" Parents parents were considerably less forgiving. Lawsuits were threatened. Consumer groups accused Starburst Records of deceptive marketing. Commentators questioned how an entire record company had hidden the truth for years. Then came the revelation that stunned the public even more. Emily herself had never actually claimed to be 18. The record label had. Whenever interviewers asked her age, the questions were quietly redirected. Whenever magazines printed biographies, the information came from Starburst Records. Whenever television hosts introduced her, Emily simply smiled. The public had assumed. The label had encouraged it. Emily had mostly stayed quiet. Suddenly, every interview she'd ever given sounded completely different. Fans revisited old clips. One interview showed Emily saying she loved making homemade pot roast. Another featured her discussing back pain after a dance rehearsal. At the time, everyone assumed she was simply an old soul. Now, the internet had other theories. Late-night comedians had a field day. One joked, "The only teenager I know with lower back pain is apparently Emily Emerson." Another added, "She wasn't grounded by her parents. She was refinancing her mortgage." Even the famous Blue Dance became the target of ridicule. One newspaper cruelly described it as the first choreography in history that looked equally appropriate at a middle school dance and a neighborhood barbecue. Within weeks, Starburst Records' carefully constructed fantasy had completely collapsed. For the first time since becoming Emily Emerson, Elizabeth Johnson decided to speak for herself. The press conference lasted just under 20 minutes. It would become the most watched interview of Emily Emerson's career. Elizabeth walked onto the stage wearing no ponytail. No glitter, no teenage wardrobe, no choreography, just a simple blue blouse and her real hair. For the first time in years, America met Elizabeth Johnson. Reporters expected excuses. They expected denial. They expected another carefully crafted statement from Starburst Records. Instead, Elizabeth walked directly to the microphone and quietly said, "My name is Elizabeth Johnson, and I'm 42 years old." The room immediately fell silent. She took a deep breath, then continued, "I've spent over 20 years trying to become a singer. For 20 years, I was told the same thing. You're talented, you're marketable, you're just too old." Another pause. "So when somebody finally looked at me and saw 18, I didn't know how to tell them they were wrong." Several reporters lowered their notebooks. One television cameraman was later seen wiping his eyes. Elizabeth continued, "I didn't lie because I wanted to fool little girls. I stayed quiet because, for the first time in my life, someone finally believed I was worth believing in." The statement immediately transformed the conversation. Suddenly, the scandal wasn't just about Emily Emerson anymore. It became about the music industry itself. Commentators began asking difficult questions. Would Elizabeth Johnson have ever received that record deal if she'd walked into the audition looking 40? Was the real deception Emily's age, or an industry that had spent decades convincing women their dreams expired with their youth? Public opinion shifted almost overnight. Many fans who had once felt betrayed began feeling something else: sadness. One teenage fan appeared on a local news broadcast holding an Emily Emerson CD. When asked whether she still liked Emily, the girl shrugged. "I don't care how old she is. I just like blue." Within months, Starburst Records quietly settled several lawsuits. Several executives resigned. The company denied wrongdoing. Almost nobody believed them. Elizabeth never again performed as Emily Emerson. Instead, she began recording music under her real name, Elizabeth Johnson. The record sold modestly. Nothing approached the success of Blue, but according to Elizabeth, that no longer mattered. Years later, during a reunion interview, she was asked whether she regretted pretending to be 18. Elizabeth smiled. Every single day, a pause. But I'd be lying if I said those were the worst 2 years of my life. The interviewer laughed. Elizabeth did too, then added one final thought. I finally got to live the teenage years I always imagined. I was just 22 years late.
Mm, mm, mm. Imagine spending 20 years trying to get into the music industry only to find out that the secret ingredient was a hair tie. Stranger things have happened, I guess. Now, let us go back to the song that created all the chaos to begin with. Thank you and good.
Saw your picture on my phone today. Now my happy thoughts just slipped away. Try to watch my favorite TV show, but all I did was miss you more. My friends say, girl, you'll be alright, but they don't know what it's like at night when your name starts running through my head and I can't sleep in my bed. Every song sounds just like you. Every cloud shows gray in hues. Every little thing I do leads me back to you. All I see is blue, 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 blue. When I think of you, 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 you. Whatever will I do, 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 do without you? Oh, oh. All I see is blue, blue, blue. Every dream comes true, 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 true. Then I wake and you're not here, and I want you near.